and then we just map it to some common thing.
Long item and question answering is good enough.
Totally.
Can I have a follow-on question? For the interactive challenge, is it expert novice or just novice?
It's just expert.
I would also
Yeah.
say so.
Yeah.
What the first year?
I mean, the other thing you have to consider at ACM Multimedia is that,
Everybody's an expert. Yes.
well,
No,
but
they're an expert in something. They're not going to be an expert in that.
but you have a challenge session in parallel to 5 other things.
Well, we can make a challenge session in parallel to a welcome reception in the Guinness Storehouse if we wanted to.
No,
Yeah.
We have control.
we cannot run
can't
this in the
advertise
Guinness
that.
Storehouse.
Why not? We have control. Completely, 100%.
But also it makes
Please
things
run
more
like this.
It can be a dry event.
and right.
In the Guinness.
You're digging yourself deeper.
I have flashbacks of Bangkok when the drinks came early, you know.
We call it LRUI, Live Log Retrieval Under Influence.
What was it, Bangkok?
Well,
The
if we
drinks came
want-
early and...
No,
If
I'm not
we-
sure. It was
Greece.
Huh?
Greece.
No,
VBS.
Bangkok.
Bangkok has no drinks for VBS.
Yeah, so Bangkok had no drinks in their
Dry.
banquet either. It was a dry conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bangkok?
The drinks
Yeah.
came
MMM,
afterwards.
yes. In the Irish pub.
Alright, let's focus less on the dry or wet and on the actual task at hand, please.
But if we want to get the community enthused, we have to do it as a general ACM multimedia something, right? If it's in a workshop in the Hyatt Parallel Hotel, it's the biggest room, and there's loads of other stuff happening at the same time, nobody gives a damn, it's just us.
But the question was experts and novices, right?
Yeah,
And the experts is good enough, I think.
because experts
Okay.
will be there.
So
Yes,
now,
the
put-
experts have to
okay,
be there
I'm
with
gonna,
their
I'm gonna
systems.
ask you the question, put yourself in the middle of the conference next year, okay? There is a grand challenge session, we'll be involved in a grand challenge session somehow, right? How do we enthuse people to get involved next year, if we don't have a session, an actual competition?
So you're 1 year later, you mean?
I want to, this is, yeah, this is
2026.
2026, how do we get people involved?
I think in the past the VPS community was very much interested in all the additional competitions, like also IVR4B, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So,
you're
The
September
problem with the
Yeah.
core VBS community is
Is
that
that
it's
it's-
running out of capacity. So now there's
That's
already
true.
3 things per year, and people
Yes,
are
that's the
kind
very
of,
for-
oh, I don't have the time to do
So
anything.
not only time, you have to keep in mind that in Europe, fundings are getting cut everywhere,
So-
including the Netherlands, so travel is
Can
going to
we-
be increasingly
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Travel money, just like, and because of sustainability and so on, some universities are limiting even how many conferences. For you probably, like Sweden kind of started, is it Norway?
Ireland's
Sweden?
talking about it.
Norway has cut a lot.
We could also do it offline, I mean online,
Good.
virtually.
But that would kill lots of divide, you know. So, yeah.
Look,
So, Carl, you would suggest the novice session to get new people involved in the community, is that right?
excitement.
Because I would suggest that we have just the expert session, but then we also specifically have like maybe
But the
a
problem is,
demo
with
session?
expert sessions, we're all gonna be not taking part in it, right? That's the
Yes.
problem. We
But-
basically cut our community in half.
yeah,
Right,
but
back to
somebody
Rob.
has to build the system anyways,
Yes.
right? And so they should
So
be
how do
there.
we make it
anyway.
easy for people to build systems? What support we give? The challenge with Tien's guys, for example, is that your guys have to work with one of the existing systems on top of it. How easy, if we want this to be big, how easy do we make it for people to take part? It's already a big data set, right? It's already difficult.
So there are 2 parts that you are talking, I think.
Lots.
You are talking, one part is how to involve new people to kind of join, and the other one is how to make it more appealing at the conference.
It's the same thing to me. If we make it appealing, we attract new people.
Yeah, so that,
One is a subset of the other. Because, so how would you get people to do it at the conference? Make the same types of tasks in the offline and in the online thing. So then all the people who built something for the, oh, I had all my algorithms run against this. Might as well bring the intermediate results and slap some basic UI on top. So all the hard work is already done.
Right.
The former, idea. Just make it an interesting task.
But I think if you allow novices, then it puts completely different requirements on the user interface.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I
This
think
is
that's
even
what
more
is
This
the
makes
add-on
things so much
work
harder.
that you
Yeah.
don't
I
have.
can build something I can operate. I
Yes.
cannot necessarily, if I need to build
Okay,
something
I
anyone
get
can
that.
operate,
Yes.
Can I just show the other one? So do we, so this is another one now. Is the really point to win that or just to have enjoyable experience for everybody? I think probably
But-
second
Well,
one
first,
is more
for
important.
instance,
Some people
multimedia.
are
And I
very
think many
competitive.
people would like to try those systems. If
What?
people come there, imagine seniors from our community, they are like gonna be,
Yes.
oh, they wanna sit there and try, and students probably, oh, what is this thing?
no,
Let me
if
try,
you,
you know, like-
if
This
you
is-
participate to a grand challenge, people will, a substantial fraction of the people who will participate to a grand challenge in the classical sense will be in it to win it, not to just have a good time.
I agree.
But what if the plan of that is there is the expert session in the actual challenge session, but there is part of the demo session
Yeah.
where
Yes.
all
We
the
can do
systems
demo.
participating are there,
And a pseudo competition.
or like a
I wouldn't even
specific
frame it
area.
necessarily as a competition. I would suggest just having a sort of an open demo where people
Yeah,
can try
yeah,
out the systems.
but not just like interspersed somewhere, but a specific
Yes,
area
yes,
of the
absolutely,
demo,
absolutely.
which is
Grouped
the
And
lifelong
ideally
challenge.
with the experts there to explain the systems and
But what I believe, what I think actually it's really fun also for novices that join there, colleagues, audience. You see, why this is very interesting. I think I noticed first time that kind of effect in Iceland in 2017. Jan Soborov came from NIST, and I don't think he's seen this for a while. You know, I think he was involved from early TrackWiz, and Kiss Task was there, and yeah. So he was really, oh my god, I think we should make all benchmarks like this, you know, like this is like Olympics, you know, like but only for nerds, you know, and it was like, no, you remember, like,
Yeah.
Remember,
Yeah, but no.
yes, but Trex does still not do that. And I mean, he's still running track, so
The
he
reason-
could have if he wanted to.
The reason we're still here is because SIGMM want to replicate VBS/LSE and ACM multimedia. in some way. So they want that
Yes.
thing,
Totally.
right? So we still have to put on that thing.
Only
And that's the
fancier,
demo session
shinier.
thing.
Right.
And that's enough, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it
But
has
it's-
to be zero stakes. Because
Yes, okay, fine.
because
Yeah.
if you stake anything, if say, oh, this is a proper competition at the flagship conference and yada yada yada, and then you rely on random people
No, that's
you've never seen. The participant with
Right.
the system that
Yeah.
performed best in the expert system, in the expert thing, who's gonna lose the competition because they got a novice that did not understand the task, they're gonna be pissed.
Okay.
So
Keep
this
the
is
separate
So
prices.
let's
let's not do
No.
let's not do prices.
Not
let's
do the
let's do
competition,
let's
yeah.
do evaluation in terms of look, we have clear parameters that we control as much as possible, and then we can argue this is a scientific benchmark because these are the things we can measure. And the other thing is the visibility, community service, blah 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 event. Let's say, look, we do demo. Everybody who's interested can do the
Yeah,
demo.
fine, I'm happy
And
with
just-
that.
And you can have more novices do that, because you
Yes.
can just
Yeah.
change after every
Yes,
task, because
exactly.
otherwise you
Yeah.
wouldn't change, because if one novice has learned how to use the system, you want to
Yes.
keep them, but
Right.
Make it
there it doesn't
interesting
matter.
by having a prize for every round for the best novice. Simple, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something
This
simple,
query,
candy.
hey,
Piece of candy.
congratulations, you get an
Piece
Easter
of
egg,
candy.
congratulations, you
Yeah.
get.
Piece of candy. Piece
Yeah.
of candy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Ali's
Something.
painting.
Yes.
Small, you know,
Yeah.
small
Yeah,
whiskey,
yeah.
small whiskey,
Yes.
whiskey bottle.
Yes,
Something
exactly.
like this.
Or a bottle of whiskey every round.
Oh, yeah,
But
but
that's-
let's take it to
that's-
tiny difference.
what's the budget of this? A bottle of whiskey every round?
No, our aim here, right,
You
is
get
to get
small,
people
yeah.
enthused.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's fun,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Totally.
Right.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally.
at the right part of the conference, it exists where everybody is going to be.
So you know what you can do? I did it for my students.
Well,
for
that's what I
something,
said, it
whatever.
doesn't matter,
You
something
buy a
matters.
bottle of wine and you buy chocolates, and then you ask them. You know, somebody doesn't drink. Somebody like, hey guys, the first one can choose. You know, like Moldovan wine, Georgian wine, or Italian. Plus there are chocolates. You know, you choose what you want. So somebody
Yeah.
picks.
Yeah, right. And then hopefully by the next year, we have more people in to take part.
So one thing you could do is if you start with a preparation session where people just practice.
Yeah.
Then this happens. You know, you could even do the novice session at the
Welcome reception.
welcome reception. After that, there's the competition.
Yeah, fine.
By that time, you will, that gives you pressure to debug things, you have some practice, you get to see some types of tasks. You have to create more tasks, that's the disadvantage, but otherwise you could recycle them.
Yeah.
But that might bring people, if they have seen this at the reception, to comment.
And the following
But,
year, the
yeah.
data set remains the same for the second year, and maybe we provide some baseline retrieval system that you can use via an API
Yeah.
to make it easier. By the way, we'll do this yourself. There's an API
I
written
mean,
by
there's,
the.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's systems out there, right?
Yeah.
There's at least half a dozen things that have been participating
Yeah.
in VBS/LSC
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you can get from GitHub if anyone would ever bother to look at
Well,
them.
to make it easier, basically you would give them like a prepared data set for that system so that this is ready to use. And
It should be made as easy as possible. Okay, have we decided?
Not sure.
Not
I
sure
personally-
about the-
I
about the
personally
exact logistics.
Would rather do expert session and then
Yes.
let everybody try.
Yes.
So why don't we do the expert session in the
It's also
workshop?
possible, yeah.
Right, expert session takes place in a workshop, right?
Wait a second, you talk workshop, grand challenge and hackathon.
Yeah, we're doing, the way to get this, look, we're in charge. The way to get this to work is we make it do it.
But the grand challenge can be a competition with the experts. And then.
No, the grand challenge has gotta be the asynchronous and the synchronous.
We were still
Sorry,
talking
the
about the
workshop, right?
synchronous.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
That's fine.
the Grand Challenge should also have the classical Grand Challenge aspects, as in you actually get to present your stuff with at least a
Yeah,
poster.
right.
Yeah.
And there's a leaderboard
Yes.
and blah, blah, blah,
This
so
is
all of
wonderful.
this is
So-
happening beforehand.
With the grand challenge, there is a workshop that takes place before the grand challenge where you actually come and use your practice.
Okay.
By workshop, you
Yeah.
mean an actual, a co-located thing that happens in the workshop slot, or you mean a
It's
session?
up to
in
us.
Yeah, but
In
it,
the workshop
it,
slot
it,
probably
it
makes more
changes
sense.
the logistics dramatically.
Yeah.
Because those are fundamentally, from a proceedings point of view, from a conference setup point of view, those are two
It
different
can be a
things.
workshop that doesn't have proceedings, right? It's just an event. I don't.
No, but I mean, you're really talking about an extended conference session, right?
Yes, but that's not.
So it's kind of two sessions
the-
to the.
But the grand challenge track will have multiple grand challenges,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
this
Yeah.
is
This is
something
one
that
of the
will
grand
need,
challenges.
this is gonna, yes, this is one of the grand
Now
challenges,
we've
but
got
then
three
it will
different
be,
to everybody else.
but will presume, well, that's the question, right? Is the grand challenge part different to everybody else? Or is it just, oh, by the way, there's this second half to the event that is not technically part of the grand challenge, but is another thing that happens interactively?
Let me turn the question around and say, let's say we get three grand challenges, and two are conventional. One is conversational search that requires an interactive element. We accept it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
We don't say no.
So some grand challenges,
So
if
the
I
same.
look at AC Multimedia grand challenges, there is this, well, I believe longest running one, I don't know how they call it, social media prediction or something like that. It started with is it JD.com, I don't know who sponsored it, there is even significant money involved there. And there are teams, does anybody know that one or?
No.
It's pretty large at AC Multimedia and it's been running for like maybe, I will say 5 to 10 years already, and they always have 2, 3, like they have a leaderboard somehow beforehand, so it's asynchronous, but also they have different ones. One is like social media prediction, that's like something like about popularity of the media, like mostly marketing type of task, and the other one is, I don't know, something, but they clearly have separate kind of scoring mechanisms and so on and
Did
so
you
on.
check how many grand challenges there were this year?
Something in the order of 10ish, I think.
Should be on the website.
10ish?
I mean, the typical grand challenge is asynchronous, right? Where you do
Yeah.
all the evaluation in advance. and
These
then
places
just
actually-
present.
like
1,
Yeah,
2,
yeah.
3,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, that's a lot of grand
10ish
challenges.
plus minus, check them.
Yeah, I think if you try to make the interactive part during the grand challenge track of the conference, it has two disadvantages, I think, in the sense that you don't treat the challenges in the same way how you
Yeah,
allocate the
yeah.
time budget, that's one thing. And the other thing is, as you said, you want to present leaderboard or results, you don't know that or just know it 5 minutes before. So if you do that in a workshop session before, then you could have these things, and maybe you do. I don't know. That's proceedings wise. This is a logistics question because you might
Yeah,
want to
but
update the paper as well.
But then,
Yeah.
but then logistically, it would be 3 independent things, right? Then you say, well, there is a classic entry into Grand Challenge
Yeah.
track that just presents Grand Challenge things,
Yeah.
whatever. There might
This is
be
also
a non-archival workshop that
Right.
happens on the day before
Yeah.
the thing to actually do the interactive part
Yeah.
of the experiment. And there is a sub-session in the demo track
Yeah.
that
exactly.
has the things
Yeah.
that just opens
Yes.
this up to everybody. And then
Yeah.
it fits neatly
Yeah.
in all the categories the conference has anyway. I mean, yeah, with a bit of, but we can do that. But at least it doesn't introduce something fundamentally new, so if somebody wants to do this next year or the year after or whenever, it doesn't completely break
Mhm.
the
And if we
format.
want asynchronous, we need to have an associated workshop as part of the proposal.
Also for synchronous, we need a workshop then.
Sorry,
Well, it's
It's
not
asynchronous.
asynchronous.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it doesn't,
Asynchronous
it
doesn't
doesn't
need
even necessarily need to be a proper workshop
Right.
with
Like it won't have
separate
publications
goals and
and
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's still part of the Grand Challenge, we just essentially need to have a room booked during the workshop part of the conference, so it doesn't interfere with.
I think it, like using the word workshop is probably, we need to find another word that
Yeah.
doesn't
I mean,
bring
it's-
confusion
it's
with
the-
other
It's
workshops.
the interactive session.
Interactive session of,
it's a challenge.
LSC is a workshop.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
Only
LSC
because they
LSC
put
is
let us
only
put
a
it in as an
workshop.
actual, we tried to get
Yeah.
LSC as a special session, permanent special session. And there was pushback from ACM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So but it's not a challenge. I mean, it's just
No,
a workshop.
Yeah, workshop.
yes.
But we would need publications.
Yeah, but the
not-
publications would
It's
go
in the
into the
Grand
Grand Challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the value there.
okay,
Yeah.
The
yes,
workshop
that's true.
doesn't need publications, just needs a
That's
room.
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing is if you want to update your paper after the interactive session, then the proceedings would need to come after the conference.
You're
right?
not
Oh,
accounted
that's
for.
not
Actually,
possible.
we do that.
No,
There's-
No,
it's
no,
accounted
with
for.
MM not possible.
Okay.
There's no need to do that.
But also for the branch, well, are all
Only for the
the,
results, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, with,
There could be an archive paper.
Well,
later on.
I mean, if you know the location of the results beforehand, you could basically put it into any paper. Like results
Guys,
would be.
how about
Yeah,
this
but
one?
if you want the proceedings available at the start of the conference, that the workshop would technically
we-
happen after.
how-
Yeah, yeah, no,
feasible
but I'm saying,
is
yes,
it
yes.
to
Few.
actually replace those papers with upgraded versions? Talk very nicely to people.
Not needed, you know why not needed? We could do the same as you do for MMN, for example. And then after this is done, because kind of has this deal with Tom traditionally, we go for a Tom paper, kind of with everybody who participated as a, okay, you don't like for it. That's already
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Tom paper with everybody who participated as an author, like it's gonna be paper with lots of authors, or you don't like that?
No, I think it's great. The only
We
thing
can-
is that we are already overloaded with the other papers, right?
Okay.
We'll have the results of the asynchronous run for the paper writing.
Yeah.
So we have that. It's just the interactive element that's
Yeah.
problematic.
I mean, what we can say is that a requirement to participate in the interactive
Is not
part
necessary.
is to, well, let me finish my sentence. The requirement to participate
point.
in the interactive part is to participate in the same subtasks for the non-interactive, because then your stuff is going to be evaluated beforehand. And then also you can do by the way, we also do this live. And then it can still be, it's archived sometime, somehow, whatever.
Yeah, I get that.
I have one question. Do we need to make it synchronous? Couldn't we just do it asynchronously like Dragquid always does with the ABS task? ABS. Because it can be interactive also if it is asynchronous.
Well,
they have
I
an
mean-
interactive task, for example.
I mean, we have this system that is perfectly capable of running
Yeah.
interactive evaluations asynchronously. We just never used it,
Yes.
Yeah.
but it is there.
Yeah.
we could even do that.
It is more interesting.
There are some. I mean, you're losing the whole visibility thing, but then
Yeah.
you can still move this to the demo session.
Yeah.
That would be an option. So then you can essentially run the whole thing beforehand.
Yeah.
You get your results back.
Yes.
You get your results back more or less immediately. You don't know how well you did in comparison to everybody else before everybody finishes, but you at
Exactly.
least know how well you did. I mean, Dres can do this.
And the results will be presented at the Grand Challenge.
Yes.
Yes.
Then we
Yes,
don't need to run
we
a
can.
grand challenge after the demo session, which is a fun
Yes.
thing.
And then it's essentially everybody who submits an interactive thing gets a free slot in the demo session if they want it.
Yeah.
People will be encouraged to do that because we can say, okay, there's going to be a best sub demo thing, whatever, for like a novice, something judged in some means to be determined. Just to give people a bit of an extra encouragement to actually show up and show their thing. And then it would also fit neatly into the timeline. We just need to have a raised instance that does this and text support and whatever, because people cannot be bothered to do the opening thing correctly. But I mean, we have the technology in place to do this sort of thing. That would probably simplify this.
Yeah, I
right?
think so.
So it's just a demo session. Fine. In the
The
background.
demo session, but the competition.
Well,
in
the
advance-
challenge,
yeah.
the challenge session, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just
The
have
challenge,
a
the challenge session, the one that happens like 2 months early.
For example.
Yes.
No.
But
No, at the conference.
At the conference,
Well,
there's
it's
still a
just,
challenge
just
session.
a regular grand challenge session
Yeah.
that presents the
Yes.
results and
Yeah.
we discuss.
Yes, but
the
not an
top
actual
scoring.
competition that's taking place in the grand challenge
Yes.
session.
No,
That's happened in
there's
September.
there's a probably before that
Yeah.
because people will need to submit their papers. So this is
Must be
some
before.
summary.
The time frame isn't great.
No, the time frame isn't great.
No, but what you
we
could-
need sleep, right? It's
But
there's-
what you could do is like you ask for papers before describing the systems and just leave like a quarter page for results, and then people
For the camera ready.
update this for the camera ready.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
Because that's what Trackbit also does.
Yeah.
And
You,
it's
you
not
update your scores, but then you don't see everybody else's scores
Yeah,
until
yeah.
you're at the event, which makes it more interesting to it.
Can you provide 10 sample queries?
So
and
the one thing that I figured out from that discussion is that I don't know if we can deliver that, but I really wanted things to be more interactive, engaging.
It still can be interactive. And engaging would be the demo session.
But when you say demo, so there is a demo session at the,
Yeah.
do you want a separate demo session or within the grand
no
challenge?
within the regular demo session.
But
Logistics
then
to be
we have
determined.
to really then synchronize with the demo chairs, because you know
That's
lots of
okay.
demos were rejected actually. This year they rejected like 3/4 of the
Yeah, but
demos.
we can
Yes,
reserve
but demos this year
Yeah,
was
you have to
somehow.
say, oh, pending that you are accepted as demo.
You'll be able to
no,
look after
no.
all.
They don't need to be accepted as
No.
demo.
No,
This is-
they
We
get,
just
they get a,
insert them into
Yeah.
the
they
demo
get a
session.
free slot in the demo program, and the demo
Yeah.
chairs will have to deal with it.
Yes.
Because worst case, we're just gonna give them. So I mean, the way this is currently kind of penciled in the program is that one room would be permanently set aside for demos and the interactive arts during the whole thing. Worst case, we just say, well, no, one of these days the demo chairs don't actually get to decide anything. All the demo slots are already taken up by this, and the rest of the slots are for the demo chairs to decide. But we can figure this out.
I mean, it might be good to do that anyway.
If you can decide that, then.
Meeting and somebody else.
Demo jet.
You're
No,
the
you're the
interactive art.
interactive art chair.
Interactive.
But it might be anyway good to have it like a fixed time slot for that, because
Yes, yes.
also people have to be there
I mean,
during, and you get more dynamics if more people are there at the
Yes.
same time.
And we probably we will have a concurrent, a continuous slot for all the demos that
Yeah.
just goes through the whole
Yeah.
program, and then just the demos rotate through, depending on how many demo submissions and whatever, right? to be determined. That room also works because there we
Is
have,
that the open space?
yes,
Yeah.
that would be the half of the big plenary.
There'll be lots of people hanging around because it's beside the bar.
Yes, and it's where we would anyway stream the overflow from the room next
That's
door.
it's a very busy.
Thing,
place.
yeah, so this would work, and this would also have the best visibility, which is why
Yes.
I would also want to put the demos there, in contrast to this year where they were behind 3 rows of poster walls.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
just one more question, just so we know that we covered everything. And the reason for not going with standard VBS/LSC format would be because we want asynchronous part as well. That's the main reason.
The main reason I think is that it's simpler in every aspect.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
And it fits very well to the format that they have in the Grand Challenge. And
Yeah, I think it fits the format of the Grand Challenge. We would not force people to have an interactive system. They could choose what they have.
Yeah.
you want to open a bit to more serious sort of crowd and.
Possibly, yeah.
And there's not so much on-site stress.
Yeah.
Because this
Yeah.
is always a real.
Because there might be 1 or 2 other things going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay.
this is definitely different at ACM Multimedia than it is at MMM or ICMR, which is like
Who are
one
Yeah,
order
sure.
of magnitude smaller.
who are our grand challenge shares? We better make sure we intercept them to say, so they don't reject our grand challenge. Okay, so it's too
The
big.
thing is, my trigger is
Okay, fine, okay, right, okay, we're okay.
I think.
I'm not so sure.
We're good. Okay, fine.
So
So,
some corruption, high level corruption caught on camera, very good, very good, very good.
no, it's not that.
No, it's called bribery, sorry.
No, these people already understand how these challenges run. So they will actually be able to.
Yeah.
No, because. Mintriet takes part in LSE and VBS. He understands. Min Sundar understands. Who's it? One more person.
I don't know.
I think only 2.
Whoever is checking this.
Yeah, I'm trying to check.
Graham is workshop.
Just finding the webpage is not particularly mobile friendly.
No, it's
because
not,
the
it's not
poster-
on the page yet. I mean,
the
it's not-
header
These things are
covers
not on the
half of the
webpage
screen.
yet. We have a magic internal document that has all the names.
Okay, next
Those
week.
are not published.
Oh, this
yet.
does not help.
We need a web chair, we need a web
That
chair.
makes it worse. You can't
We don't need the web chair, we just
Can you
need a
request
crack at
a
it
desktop
to actually
version?
publish stuff to just.
So depending on when we wanna eat, maybe.
I'm happy that we've done enough. We can summarize this again tomorrow morning, make sure everybody's on the same page.
No.
Figure out the hackathon then too.
There were more things on the agenda, but sure, whatever.
Hackathon.
Hey, tell us.
What was on the agenda for today technically was figure out also all the data augmentation things which would feed into the hackathon, plus all the collections for. Now we know the set of sensors we have. Now, what would we want to do for any future iterations, and how would people possibly think of could this be done? This is not necessarily something that needs to be discussed now, even though it was in the agenda, but then technically it was in the agenda for this morning, so. The
So what does
agenda-
Castle
the
2
agenda-
look like?
Yes,
So too.
Let's assume that Castle 1 has not been a disaster. It's been very successful. Except chicken. When you transferred the second fridge, Castle was pretty successful.
so far the second fridge was the biggest fail.
You know what would be the best
Well,
one?
I
If you kept it
realized the
outside,
brand is
outdoor.
called Hot Point, so
Outdoor
why
castle.
do we expect
No,
it to
no,
get
no,
cold?
I feel they did not understand.
I think for Castle 2 it would be great to have less of a focus on food
Yeah.
and preparation of food and logistics of food.
But that's what
That's what literally
brings
makes
us
it
all
cool.
together.
I feel like, I mean, it can certainly be an aspect. I feel like it's been exaggerated this time
A little bit
around.
too much.
It's
yeah.
perfect for the hackathon.
Maybe
Yeah,
just
sure.
one dinner
So if you-
day.
And then do
once,
takeouts,
but then
yeah,
they
yeah.
do takeouts for the rest.
I mean, ideally there would just be more people, and
Yeah,
we
more
would
people
have
have.
fewer people in, or you would have a smaller fraction of people involved
More
in.
people. Bigger house.
But then
Right.
the cooking organization is gonna be messy, with
Yeah.
the shopping
No,
lists and
because
stuff.
then you would have
With the exception,
people who are explicitly in charge of things which we did not have. It's, oh yeah, everybody does something, and then what do you? But the people who do the shopping and the people who actually do the cooking are not the same people, and information gets lost along the way, and nobody knows what's
Well,
going on.
I think we did a good job, right? We had almost everything we needed. We got almost everything right.
Well,
I think we
I
did
would-
well with
I
what we
would-
had, but it could have been
What are you
streamlined.
saying that we should do?
I would argue the whole thing was well done, but there is a comma in there.
I would say very well.
Okay,
For one
people
thing.
didn't get the joke. It's fine.
I got it. It's okay.
So,
Well done.
just as an example, how do we do it on a boat? Very light breakfast, in a sense, spreads,
We
cheeses
could do
and
lighter
all that.
breakfast and Irish breakfast.
Then lunch
yes.
is really cooking. Evenings we always do in a restaurant. So
If we had gone to a
You are
restaurant,
aware that this is not a boat. This has different.
the
boundary
challenge
conditions.
is, if we'd gone to a restaurant every night, you would have added an extra 3,000 or 4,000 euros to the cost.
yeah, no, no.
We couldn't do it on
It could be
10,000.
Take
On
out.
our own.
On our own budget, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other logistics here is there isn't a restaurant nearby that's open
But that's why we chose this castle, because it was so far from everyone, there's nowhere to go, right?
There is another, I mean, another option is basically, if it's possible to add a couple of people who do some of the cooking.
Just do the
Explicitly.
More helpers.
Yes, do the cooking. So that would be one option. Yes. But,
Okay, but
yeah, but,
guys, also that process, you'll see later on, is also valuable as a data. So people do
Absolutely,
something
of course,
together,
absolutely.
one
So
does
you-
this, another one
yeah,
does
you
that,
do
another one
not-
does that.
you do not
Then other
want-
things you open.
The
you lift them.
disagreements as part of it is all part of the data set, right?
Totally,
yeah,
No, but the thing is that just the whole, everybody does everything somehow and nobody's responsible for anything and nobody's in charge and nobody knows what's going on. Because
Okay,
everybody
I
does
agree.
everything.
If we had Alice here, we'd all be on time, right? Alice wouldn't make it, right? We need an Alice.
Possibly. We
With a
just,
clipboard going around
we just
on,
need,
get over there. That's all.
yeah, so
Alright.
basically you're saying, yeah, so that's actually a point, you need a manager.
You need a
Essentially, who's not,
yes,
Yeah.
taking care
Of that.
of the logistics, of the
Yes.
details, of all the goings on.
Right.
You need a Jennifer to organise in advance, you need an Alice to organise when we're here,
Yeah.
or equivalent.
well, or something that floats or, right, okay. But so that's maybe slightly less, emphasis on cooking and then some better organization, so that's a couple of points.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
And what about technical aspects?
Probably.
But
2
actually,
years from now, maybe the hardware could be,
This wasn't too bad, right?
yeah.
it's not
Actually,
too bad.
I thought it would be worse.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's worked really well.
Middle of the day, my head was hurting quite a bit, but it's getting better.
But
That was something else, that was the second.
Yeah,
BBC.
well, I think
No,
it's
but
a bit of a
yeah,
pressure
the-
cooker.
It's decent, it's not great, right? So
Yeah.
there,
No, and no complaints.
But
because
if
it's-
we were stuck with what we already
exactly.
happen to
Yeah,
have
no.
in a closet in DCU,
Yeah.
right? We didn't have the
I think
budget.
it's a,
If ACM gave us 20,000 next
Yes.
time, or 30,000,
Yes.
sure, we'll do something much nicer.
Yeah.
We made it work.
Yes,
maybe 40,000, 50,000.
Just one comment to what Björn said about the cooking. I think it's a good idea to have dedicated people cooking, but after
Not all the
thinking
time.
about it, I think it's very nice that we had here so many different dishes done by different people, and we could look up them later on. And also it's a lot about life, right?
yes,
We
no,
do life blogging.
absolutely. So it's-
Improvisations,
ADL,
constant
I
improvisation.
would
yeah.
clearly vote against like the catering aspect of it.
Yeah.
Um, but it needs, in general, I mean, we had very little in terms of an agenda, which in some aspects is good, gives people the freedom to do this. There needs to be more agenda, like in general, right? And people behind the scenes making sure that the agenda can actually happen. Because now everybody who runs around doing things is also,
Right.
so there's no behind the scenes
Right.
support.
You need a
for
production crew.
Yes, essentially, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of things, also for various setup-y things, that just takes time and resources that we did not really have this time around. So essentially, if there were the option to do this with a larger crowd of people, in a larger location, it would probably make sense to.
But are you thinking, go back to the schedule we had from 3 months ago, we didn't implement? That was, everything was half an hour blocks. For this half an hour, you're playing
Maybe
chess
half an
with-
hour.
Yeah, but it doesn't, it doesn't, it doesn't need, it
That's
doesn't need to
something
be,
in
it doesn't need to
between.
be half an hour blocks, but essentially really, clear and strict assignments, as in, look, we have a workshop part, this is this time window, we have lunch always happens at this time, which necessitates this time block
I guess
before, and it's those people, those really know what they're gonna have, right? Everything, there's like checklists and stuff. This time is dinner,
Right.
this necessitates this.
We're not that far off it.
But basically
But it
having
did not
somebody-
really, it wasn't really implemented like this, because it's, oh yeah, but let's do this in our rate, oh no, let's swap these two
But I
things,
still
oh no,
think
let's do this.
that is actually okay, because we
Life-
are still having
And
our
life is also
workshop.
chaotic sometimes, right?
Yeah, but that's, but this is not supposed to be,
If
like-
we
this
have
is supposed
had-
to, well,
No, yeah.
If we had had an Alice equivalent here, with a checkbox saying, okay,
Yeah.
you have to do cook now, it's time to cook, that would have been, okay.
It's also means if you had somebody who could basically run off to the store or
Yes.
drive off to the store.
yes,
Like daily-
some fixers,
Yeah,
essentially.
the daily basically.
Yeah.
So what do we need for tomorrow?
Yeah. Like, if one of us had
Yes.
been one of us three had been a helper, not a
Yes.
participant,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
was fine.
It's not
Or you
much
can learn how
of,
to drive.
but it's really, there is somebody who's not part of the experiment who is running the show.
So
I
need
think
a
that's
manager,
kind of the
right? Need a
main-
manager.
Manage.
I think this
We
is.
don't need managers, we need normal people. Alex.
Yeah. No, yeah. We need somebody normal to manage.
No, essentially, it needs a production crew, it needs a
Yeah.
director behind the
Right.
scenes,
Yes,
it's
yes,
actually
yes.
on top of
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
that's
And
happening.
that basically has authority over the participants.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's kind of, when you're taking part in experiments and having authority, it's a
And
problem.
also, if there's no clear schedule, it is also difficult to coordinate things, because then it's, oh, I need to take care of my email, I might
Right.
as well do this now because nothing's going on.
Right.
And then people disappear at random
yes,
points
yes.
in time because there's no coordination between
Yeah.
them. And also if you say, oh, well, now we could do this, and then, oh, but 3 people are missing, okay, now then we can't, and then
Right.
it just spirals, right?
Then we have to, if that's the case, we have to release a schedule well in advance, so.
Yes.
I don't, Vern had to go out for a meeting there this morning,
Yeah.
about 10 o'clock.
Right.
That we have to know that can only happen at 11.
Yeah,
right?
But a person who has control of things, basically there's gonna be fairly minor things that come up. You have this extra meeting that wasn't really scheduled, you have one more meeting and there's and somebody can basically adjust this and then
Yeah.
the day before,
Release a printout.
release,
Yeah.
here's a new
We need a
schedule for
printer.
tomorrow.
We need a printer, I know, I thought about buying a
Or,
printer.
need an information screen, that's
Yeah.
alternatively,
Okay, yeah.
that's a good.
An iPad to display.
So-
But I think the key is to separate, out whoever is running the show, the producer, right, from the participants.
Yes.
And
People, we did
So-
most of the things we were
so-
supposed to do, no?
But I think we did really well.
So we
We can
should
make it
make
better.
very clear that the helpers have been excellent,
Yes.
so this is not a judgment on that.
No, but it was just like saying I expected a major disaster in all aspects, apart from an occasional camera failure that happened to some people we don't want to name. There were no major disasters.
We were inevitably not going to get this fully right the first time.
No.
I think
Yeah.
nobody has run away.
No, literally, there was positive atmosphere all the time.
There was,
People
it was
didn't,
good fun, right?
you know, these social experiments you've probably seen on YouTube going wrong.
And part of the challenge was figuring out
Yeah.
how to do this better next time.
But I think this is a really good lesson. I agree with Luca on this part. I think that would make it more productive.
More people, bigger castle, and a manager.
So,
But you know
Yeah,
what? This
well,
can be
I'm
also.
not sure about the more people as part of the experiment.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe
More
12 rather
helpers.
than 10.
Yeah.
Because you get more options with groups of 3 and
Yeah.
4.
Yes,
If you have
I mean,
10,
also
12
in-
people.
But if it gets much larger, it
Yeah,
also has
exactly.
more
The
challenges.
only,
Yeah, sure.
The only reason why, can I add one point in, why we didn't have more helpers was because there's a training week on for some of our
Sure.
PhD students from the group who couldn't come.
Sure.
And Robin couldn't come because she moved house last week. And Leeting
Hey,
isn't
sis.
back.
Right.
And
Hey,
it was,
sis.
Thesis, two people handed up their thesis this week.
Yes, yes, yes.
This
Yeah,
was
yeah,
why
yeah.
we
No, no,
missed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We,
Understood.
we actually
Understood.
wanted 4 helpers,
Yeah, yeah, understood.
and we bought
Yeah.
we rented a house.
Yes.
So
But in any case, the role that you're describing would have been missing.
always yes.
Yes. So, and I agree that this is kind of a key
We need
Yes,
aspect of
yes.
this.
And I mean, this is the.
a coordinator,
Yes.
Coordinate.
on-site coordinator.
Yeah.
And then somebody who basically has authority over the experiment, right?
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
it's like having a,
who sets the agenda, who
Like-
says,
yeah,
no, and now
yes.
you do
it's a
that.
very similar problem in the sports when you have a player coach, somebody who's playing on the field, they cannot manage, they need
Yeah.
somebody on the sideline to run the show.
Yeah.
It's impossible to manage on the field.
Coach.
Yes,
So
but even if you're a coach, you can run the sessions before, but you need somebody
Yeah,
live.
Yes, but I mean, essentially, yeah, I guess this whole thing was much more ad hoc than it ideally would have been, which is fine. It was built with much less budget than it
Should have.
has any right to work with.
Yeah.
For which, yeah. So
Yeah.
far so good, right? So all of this, yes, absolutely. But I mean, it's very much there. I mean, also more people, also more activities.
More activities.
In the sense of, yeah, we kind of try to make it work by, what can we get? Oh, we can get a
Right.
few things to put stuff together. Oh, and we can get painting supplies, right? It was literally like that. It's not a
Yeah,
Yeah, it's more planning as well, more.
top down,
Sure,
thought out.
sure.
It's really more of, okay,
Sure.
can we throw more activities at the
Yeah,
thing to
yeah,
make it more interesting, to make it
We
more.
should have a
diverse?
laptop of copyright-free movies.
right,
We thought about it, we got some, but we never set it up.
right.
So there's lots of
Same
things to
thing
fix.
with music.
Music.
I guess,
Maybe,
like a,
yeah, maybe
kind of
longer
music room.
activities as well, because most of these activities can be done
Yes.
like in 5
Yes,
minutes.
also, I mean, the weather was mostly not cooperating, so there wasn't a lot of chance
So-
to do outdoorsy
Right.
things. This is just, well,
A house, next time, with a bigger garden, that we can actually do things outside in.
A treadmill to
Exercise.
exercise so that people can be sane.
sanity is overrated.
Because the reason why we're here is because this was the only house we could afford.
Yeah.
We'll fix that part.
I could have got you a castle, you'd have all had to pay for your own flights and everything else, right? So it's different, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
We will have spent over 10,000
Yeah,
pounds on this.
despite all the things that you mentioned, I think
Yeah,
it went
yeah.
incredibly well
Yes,
so far.
so far so
many
good,
things
right?
to
I mean,
learn,
It's,
but
it's,
yeah.
it's, it's not, nothing is on fire.
Like nothing has,
Yeah.
nobody in our community has tried to do this before.
Yeah.
There might
The
have
only
been a
time we've ever
reason.
seen this is ubiquitous computing 10 years ago, when they put some cameras up in a house and people went in and did some ADLs, right, for a weekend. This is far in excess of what that was.
Speaking of food, I think I have to go to.
Check the potatoes earlier, they were still rock solid, so.
You have to
what
increase
would
your
we-
step count.
What do we say?
But this is one aspect. The other aspect was, okay, we have the sensors we could get on short notice, mostly because you happen to have them lying around. This again, it worked. So far so good. We ran into some minor technical issues for various weird reasons. But this is certainly not the best setup to do this sort of thing, right? So I guess and this is not necessarily something we absolutely need to correct now, but maybe something to think about. Assuming infinite time and infinite budget, what would be the thing we actually wanted to do?
Right.
Because then we can go down from, okay, what
Right.
if this is actually feasible to do?
And I mean, so there's a question, what if the price of admission, let's say, had been to buy some kind of equipment? So everything is paid for except you need to bring your own set of goggles or whatever, right? Would people run into trouble with this?
Could be there. Okay. You have to check how you like them.
Yeah, I don't know that.
It's
Then
probably,
Yeah, it's
Also, there's a different
Well, it's
attitude if
probably
you
fine.
bought your own equipment.
Come,
and
come,
you're
No,
coming
it's
in,
probably
right?
fine. Right,
Like,
yeah,
I don't
that's-
wanna do that type
Shall I
of
turn it off?
Yes.
What do you
Also,
want?
you have to keep it as a
Yes.
close,
Yes.
somehow it's a community of people.
Right.
They need to
And here,
pull down
everybody trusts everybody in this room.
Yeah.
And that's even
Right.
fundamentally what we need to have to get this to work.
Right.
But if it was a €500 entrance fee, and you get to keep your hardware afterwards, I wouldn't have any problem doing that.
No.
Yeah, probably.
and I think probably it's easier than like paying for like the travel, because it's easier to squeeze in some hardware budget somewhere than
You can convince that it's needed for some other project. and
than
that-
having
yes, yes.
like official requests
Yes,
for
yes.
travel and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So
No, it's just
If there
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a thing out there you can buy.
yeah, yeah,
If
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
if
No,
it's
I-
that we
yeah.
need to MacGyver it ourselves,
This is
then it
still
might
as
be
good
much
an
more.
option as
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
ever gonna
yeah.
get at the moment.
Right, yeah, no,
Nothing
that,
else.
it's just something to
Benefits.
keep in mind, so that, you know, if there is something that we desire, you know.
Like, look at the challenges we had with this.
Yeah.
Battery life, we went through numerous different options for batteries. I have 36 GoPro batteries in DCU, right? We bought double of everything, right?
Right.
More. We even tried double A battery packs wired through a voltage regulator
maybe.
directly into it.
To cool them
That
down a
didn't
bit,
work,
yes.
Right? You had to go with this approach. Then they were overheating. We even tried fans inside. There was a huge amount of effort to get to what actually you're
Yeah.
wearing right now, which
Right,
actually
right.
works. So even if we did this again in 18 months' time, there's probably nothing better than this still that we can actually do.
now there's only so look already a very small thing which would be like a belt clip for the power pack, which is probably more convenient.
They were cheap.
Yeah,
They were €5
true,
each.
but a belt clip is probably not so expensive either.
But look, we'll collate after we get back.
I'm space in my pocket.
But I mean, this is still assuming that this needs to be done on short-ish notice with off-the-shelf hardware.
Yeah.
So assuming this was not a requirement.
I mean, throwing in another thought. I mean, it's of course putting another angle to the data set. It should also be interesting to just give everyone a different type of device. So you would have like a heterogeneous data set. It causes other problems, but it could also provide other.
I'm already getting dizzy.
But it could also be interesting to like see what you can get out of different
Brain
types of
sensors,
devices.
you have to shave your head before coming.
If Graham was able to make it, he would have
BCI
had
is
a
actually on the
BCI
list.
pack.
Yes.
BCI is definitely on the list.
We could do portable BCIs. Yeah, no problem.
Well,
Expensive.
no problem is well, there's a
Financial
whole scale of problems, but we could probably make it work.
We could put a BCI cap on everybody in the morning time. Now, your
Not
hair
with my
might
time
get
budget, we
really
have to
smelly.
complete this, but it's.
We need
Yeah.
Graham Healy's equivalents, right? To
No, we
separate.
just need to actually. He was
Not equivalent.
He was
Graham was on holiday
He
this
was
week.
not available this week.
Uh,
Otherwise, he would have been here.
Cause some trouble.
Possibly, yes.
Sneaking out for pints. I would love
Is
eye
this
tracking.
slander already, or?
It's Graham.
This is-
It's Graham. Eye tracking on the glasses would be very nice.
Eye tracking would be very nice, yes, that would be awesome.
What is actually the eye tracking experiment? I still don't understand.
It's
The
a
purpose.
That was
reading
Just
experience.
gathering data for a reading task.
What
There's a demo at ASA
what is
Multimedia
the
later.
research question?
For the eye tracking?
There's
What's
not
the
really a big
question?
research question here, it's we had to use it because we brought the hardware to here.
You know what's also cool? I heard from our forensics friends, what I kind of like these days is from data to activities. So basically, which kind of activities could you reconstruct from the sensors, like mobile, if you have it in a back pocket, in a backpack, in a front pocket, can you reconstruct the
Yeah, but
activity based on
I mean, that's basically what you can do with Fitbit, right?
Yeah, but most people in criminal cases don't wear Fitbits, you know, like
Yeah.
most people have a mobile somewhere,
Yeah.
like in a backpack, in a,
Yeah.
which kind of activity can you
We could
recognize?
have provided everybody with a cheap Android phone
Yeah.
running sensors.
Yeah.
next time. It's another thing for our helpers to keep charge, but yeah, you can do that.
Well, you will get the 9 in stream. I don't know.
Basically, we could, because now one of the few sources of funding that's gonna remain is gonna be the security fundings. So that's another thing to think about, if you kind of make ourselves relevant to them.
Right?
So what do we say to somebody who says, I'd like to run this experiment myself?
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Does anybody think we shouldn't have done it?
No, I think it's great. I would do it again.
I will do that, absolutely. We will
Stay
do
up
it
one
again. I'm assuming that we will end up doing this again at some point, 18 months or 24 months down the line. Somewhere, it doesn't have to be here, it can be anywhere. Klagenfurt.
I'd prefer 18 over 24 because that would land it in summertime.
Or 20 or 30.
Doubles the price of.
Or 30.
Like
Or,
this is,
or 30, right? Yeah, also fine.
this is 3,000 euros for a week. It's 5,000 or 6,000 in the summertime.
Right.
But it gives you the outdoors.
Look,
Which are
next time
much
you go back to
larger.
ACM, we're asking for 25,000.
Ask for more, they're gonna scope it down.
Yeah, we asked for 35.
Yeah.
We got 10 or something. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there is a chance, I would say, that this is, if this is successful, then it's
We certainly have the right to go
possible
back
to
and
get
ask
a
for more.
higher grant next time.
Yes,
I would
like, I
say.
think we've done a lot with 10,000. More data.
Because then you can be fairly concrete about what those extra funding would buy you compared to what you would have now.
Yeah.
So I think that's, for example, better weather. It's gotta be worth, that's gotta be worth a few $1,000, a few hundred euros.
Quite expensive
You
to
make it-
purchase.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, but
make
that
it a
buys you
joint-
other activities, right?
You make it a joint geoengineering project.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can at least buy the odds of better weather, right?
Yeah.
That for sure.
Yes. So timing, location combined to that.
Thanks.
What about some device?
Klagenfurt.
People
in summer.
can manual.
Would be
Yeah,
pretty.
I said if you want to
Or
set it
winter.
like
Or
here,
they moved or something like that. Oh,
Yeah,
some
not for better weather.
navigation.
Manual move or something.
Ski.
Or
Yes,
just
yes,
some
yes,
ground truth.
that's why I said if you
anything.
want the setting like here, very secluded, we could go to some hub.
With a director, we can do
exactly.
Yes.
I mean, what
But,
you could also
skiing
have is a thing that
would
you
work.
Activity.
have everybody
with
gets a phone.
empty slopes.
Yeah,
Or
and
some,
you
some
want-
touchscreen
They don't
device.
recognize any other people.
Mostly
There's an
it's
application running on this
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
lets you log things,
Mostly.
that maybe even prompt you
So
from
there's one
from
slope
time
where
to
you
time
have
for
Yeah.
with the
things.
helmet to enter.
It gives you a web browser and things.
No, just saying,
Type.
Yeah.
with
So that people can do
organize
I
some-
think
more
hackathon
things
can be
as
used
well.
for that
Yeah.
stuff.
For one
So
slope,
people
they
kind of
have
wondering,
this screen.
what is it to
didn't know.
work, and I think we are gonna hear at the conference a lot about, hey guys, you could have done this, hey.
Oh, yeah,
this-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we got
People
a lot
we
of
have,
You could have done, why didn't you do it that way?
Totally.
Okay.
Right?
anything on the.
Did we
agenda is
answer
there.
your question, Luca?
More or less.
More or less.
So how big has to
We
make
still have
that-
one more workshop tomorrow
Yeah.
to revise everything.
What
understand
time do we
everything.
do it?
And
Okay, I have
talk
to make
about
that
the,
frosty.
Is there a task for somebody to summarize the discussion now?
We need to
For
write a
tomorrow?
SIGMM records paper.
We do need to write somewhere.
Yeah.
I can summarize it now for tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
So just take.
I'll be a very quick summary tomorrow morning.
So what
Yeah.
Alex's question I think was important in the spirit of what Lucas said. What time tomorrow?
What time for breakfast and then,
Breakfast at 9,
okay,
workshop at 10.
okay.
Yes, but for real this time.
Oh, no, lunch. Cause lunch,
No,
I will-
lasagna.
Why make lunch?
breakfast at 8.
No,
Okay,
it's
light
not-
breakfast at 9, it doesn't require any cooking, because we don't have anything left to cook.
We have plenty of cheese.
We have
So-
a lot
Plenty of
of, we have a lot of
bread.
stuff.
We have
Cheese
butter.
board.
Now.
No.
We have
cornflakes,
cornflakes. We even have
plus-
oats for those
We
who
also
want to
have
make
things
themselves.
Christmas
Yeah.
pudding or whatever this is, and
Right,
Christmas
but-
cakey things, and
How about everyone has their
but
own
second hour
breakfast
is-
in
is
any
fine,
place
right?
and still
Yeah,
here
every
at
make your
9
own
for
breakfast
workshop.
tomorrow.
So the
Nine for
work,
workshop.
the lasagna, basically the second hour of preparation is inside the oven.
Okay.
So
I will do
that's
the
workshop
at
time.
that point.
I will, yeah.
so
Exactly.
I guess originally the idea was to prepare the lasagna today,
Yeah.
and tomorrow you
No,
can
but
just
I
put it
finished
into
this
the oven.
here.
But
But we can base, I mean, can it be
Um,
turned in parallel to breakfast?
So I think we're doing the workshop
Maybe
at
not.
I would not-
Immediately after breakfast.
I would also like to have
One to-
breakfast that
one
then
to
I can
two.
do, yes, yes, yes.
No,
Immediately
just too late.
after
We
breakfast.
have to
And we just throw a bunch of
salmon
people at
at
it, we finish it in half an
Okay,
hour.
so two,
Well,
Yeah,
that's a
we
half a
can
cooking with,
I can have some more.
Could we have
Okay, yeah,
lasagna
thank
for
you.
breakfast?
That would be
Oh.
helpful.
Like no breakfast and a brunch, which is lasagna.
yeah,
And somebody wants to get food at
Oh my God.
9 o'clock, there's plenty of food in there.
that is an alternative,
Yeah.
yes.
There's the pressure on me.
So if you have brunch at 11, right, followed by the workshop.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense when we go early already to the salmon.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then we
Salmon's
start
at
preparing
3:30.
the lasagna maybe already
Don't
at
check
8.
it out and so.
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
Reasonable.
That's fine. And we can snack while you're doing this.
Yeah.
And we can have some
Eat
cornflakes
uncooked
or
pasta and
Yes.
green and cheese or whatever we decide we want to do, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a
Instead of
breakfast
cornflakes,
followed by a
pasta
salmon
for
followed by
food.
steaks. And then we're back not too late tomorrow night because someone like Klaus has to leave at 5 a.m.
Well, we'll see tomorrow what the weather forecast says. If it says
Oh,
road-
the weather
roads-
forecast is what I read earlier on.
Yeah, I mean,
110 kilometre per
Yeah.
hour winds,
yeah.
sea breaching the
Any
coast,
change of
flooding,
flights,
Oh, really?
disaster, storm Daniel, whatever it's called.
That's Friday or
Friday,
Friday and
and
Saturday.
Okay.
So you have an idea if there's
Cliffs of Moher, not so much.
Closed, orange level weather warnings.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
say-
How will it is?
That flights will be delayed or cancelled?
No, that's in the west, not the east.
Carl,
Okay.
how will it is?
Okay.
Hovel.
Yes.
We can all go to the hovel, no problem. There's no toilet there, but that's okay. It's a hovel.
There's
after all.
lots of trees.
Lots of trees.
Yes.
Excellent.
And we have toilet paper here.
Good.
So.
Yeah, but then, you know,
Those
any
trees-
traces of whatever you do will disappear very quickly.
look where someone else is
compared
to the one direction.
So don't stay downwind, for sure.
So you're
Perhaps
probably not doing the cliff.
How will it is?
Hey!
How will it is?
Are you still doing the cliff?
No,
Let's see,
it's
let's
gonna
see.
be impossible,
Let's
basically.
see on Saturday morning. What
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like.
It's like,
They do tend to overestimate the danger.
the way,
I mean,
if that
orange
is,
in Dublin is
if
nothing,
that is
but I don't
reality,
know about
then it's
here.
impossible.
Orange in Dublin is nothing, but I don't know about here.
I think it hits
No,
first.
here orange is a proper weather, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
So look, let's make a decision on Saturday morning. We
City,
can have breakfast.
city weather is always much milder than
But it's clouds that
proper
have to
coast
be
weather.
a bit more cautious in driving for the first hour.
No,
Once you get to Galway, you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the main roads, yes.
I'll have the GPS ready
Yeah,
because
to decide.
if there's ever
Well,
an
you gotta
incident
go.
on the M50 around
I
Dublin,
think I can
he's not getting to the
So
airport.
you,
we can decide.
you might also pre-download the local map, the GPS.
There will be points on the
Google Maps.
M50 where you can get off the
Yeah.
motorway
Yeah.
and get to the
Back
airport.
with me.
Yeah, but if you pre-download the local map, then you basically, even if you run, you know, if you're
Yeah.
not well connected in this area, you can still
Yeah.
record it. So at least for until you hit the highway.
Yeah.
And even on the highway, if you hit
But
the
until the
M50
highway
and
is
there's
very
an
simple.
accident,
It's one road you
it
follow.
could just stop. And then
Until you
stop for
have
an hour,
something
just a
wrong.
single ring road.
Yeah, but
you're
until
right.
the highway,
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
So you
simple.
have somebody
Yeah,
keep
I
an
forgot
eye
what
on the,
So that would be a problem for us, yeah.
What?
you would miss your flight.
Yeah.
If
The
There
M50
is
is
a
stopped.
congestion.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There's quite a lot of trees on the M55.
Lots of trees.
Yeah.
Mm.
But,
Look, in reality,
No,
but I
we
think
don't
Norway
need,
so far inland, it's not gonna
but
be
we
so
don't
bad
need
there.
much of
No, it's
M50,
fine.
right?
Yeah, just
If we
that
drop you
This
again,
area.
we didn't use much of M50 because if we drop Ali again, then
Yeah.
And then
you use about
you
half the
see,
M50. Oh, to Finglas, yeah, then you can go the back roads to the airport.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You will be
So
also-
you see you-
I mean, basically we
There's not
took
so
a
many
short,
trees here.
a short stretch on M50
on our way.
until
So like,
Finglas and then
Yeah, there's only two
That's
exits to go, right?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then from Finglas you can go to the airport to the
And
back
Yeah.
roads.
Finglas is there, M50 is
But we,
there,
yeah,
that's
but I
my place.
expect, I think we will go to the Havel with
And the
you.
airport's
That
there.
will be
Okay,
the
so this
sightseeing
is
part
not
of
the
the
big-
trip.
It'll be quite disappointing.
Extra.
Yeah, yeah,
The
no, no,
kitchen
no.
isn't finished, the bathroom isn't finished,
No,
the
no, no,
water
no.
isn't on.
Yeah, we can do a little bit of work if you want. Some tiling, you know.
Damn, I should have ordered a skip in advance.
you get the toilet installed.
If the toilet is there, you just haven't turned on the water.
Yeah.
I don't know where to turn it on. If
careful,
you
you-
can find the water,
Oh,
we
to
can use
turn
the
it
toilet.
on?
Yeah.
Well, we can bring water from.
We have to-
That actually works, right? I mean, you
Well,
can, you
I
can
mean,
flush
yeah,
with the
yeah.
water. Yes,
As
yes,
opposed
yes.
to washing
I mean,
stuff.
that's what you do when
Workshop's done.
Have you watched a movie?
Let's watch a movie.
So on your laptop?
Is there something?
I would like to watch Elephant Stream.
Elephant Stream.
Is
Is
it
it open
connected
source?
to
Open source?
the?
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
Can you connect
I
to
don't
the
know, I
TV
want to
so
see
everyone can
it.
watch
I've
it?
seen it so many times.
Yeah, I don't.
I have
I did not.
not so often end to end, but I
Let me go to
think
the
I've
bathroom
seen
first.
so many stretches
Right.
of it.
But there's another one, right?
Look and cover.
Yeah, there is also the what's it called? Elephant.
Elephant string, and then there is I don't I know actually I don't mean
Big-
elephant string. I mean the other one.
Big Bugs Bunny.
Big Bugs Bunny, Big Bugs Bunny, and then there's another one.
Is there Sue Bailey?
There is even another one.
I'm lost, so.
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
lost me.
There are a few open source movies.
Yeah, there's a number of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Big Bugs Bunny is also very.
Mark,
very
I'll
useful.
get
Yeah,
it
yeah,
tomorrow
yeah.
morning at 10. Anyway, if it doesn't turn up, I'll ring you.